Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele. Kyle, how we doing today?
Doing really good. We are on Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantmania Eve right now.
Yes, we
So
are. And so we are going to be doing a spoiler cast for that on Friday. But before we get to all that, um, there was a brand new trailer, and I don't know if you happen to see it, but there was a brand new trailer for Creed 3 that dropped today. Did you happen to watch it? And what did you think about it?
I did, and I was disappointed. I
Really?
thought
Okay.
that if you've watched the other Creed second trailers they've released for the past two films, they are great, David. Like capital G, great. And this trailer just felt like it was recycling the same footage from the first trailer, and there was of course new footage in it, but I'm going to see the movie, but it didn't really bump up the needle for me on, oh, now I got to see this film. And I was underwhelmed because I wanted to see more from this movie. I don't know if I want to see more fights. The only thing I will say that intrigued me, and this you don't really know because you didn't watch Creed 2, but not
Yeah,
yet,
yeah,
but
I
you
have to
will.
before.
But it looks like Drago, um, the son of Ivan Drago, is going to be in the film, and there's in the trailer he has one scene where he's in the ring, but I don't know if he's like training with Adonis. But that
That's
was the one
interesting.
thing I'm like, okay.
That's fascinating. So
If you
yeah,
remember,
that's
they were going to. I think there was like a rumor going around that they were going to make a spin-off with Ivan Drago
right.
and his
And what it
son.
so
And I
what ended up
remember,
happening with that is actually and I'm blanking on his name. Dolph Lundgren actually
yes.
came out and basically not reneged, but he basically denied all the rumors, and they said, "Look, I don't know where this
Didn't he
came
say
about."
something like they approached me about it, but that was about it? Like I haven't agreed to make the film or
Right.
anything on
Yeah.
that order. So I think
Yeah.
there is like there is some talk about it, but I highly doubt that film will be made because I mean it's one thing to make it about Creed, but then to make it about
Yeah.
Drago,
No. Now
that's kind of
you're
starting to
going too
milk the
deep.
franchise.
So I agree with you. I just don't see it. Look, Creed is one of those characters. He was a sidekick of Rocky, and everybody
Hmm.
loved Rocky and Rocky 2, and he eventually died in Rocky 4 and whatever. But yeah, to go that deep in the onion, I just don't see it. So, but so that's what did you guys think about the trailer?
Did you
Did
watch it,
you
David?
were
Did you
huh?
watch the trailer?
No, oh, I did. Of course, I
What
did.
did you think?
I you know I'm I have to see the second one too. So I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
I think Michael B. Jordan. I'm more interested to see how Michael B. Jordan does this.
directs.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's where I'm coming from because this is gonna be excuse me, this is gonna be, I think, it's really gonna be interesting. I'm sure correct me if I'm wrong, but Ryan Coogler had quite a hand in this film, yes?
I believe he has a story credit
Okay.
on
So,
this
I mean,
film.
he's been working with Coogler for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So I'm really curious to see, you know, um, how this whole thing plays out.
Now I
Tessa
will
Thompson's going to be
say
amazing.
there's an element to this film that I'm really looking forward to, which is the daughter of
Mm,
Adonis. And from early reactions, they've all been praising her performance. You get very little of her in this trailer. And I think that was also something I wanted to see more of, but I think that is what,
I
we'll
think it'll
get
be
in this
fleshed out. It'll
film.
definitely be fleshed out.
I think yeah, that is one. I think that is something maybe they could have touched upon more in the trailer itself. They really are trying to capitalize off of the fact it's like two brothers. I mean, not, you know, by blood, but two brothers
Yeah. Well, I'm
by friendship at least,
yeah,
and now they're fighting against each other. So,
it's gonna be fun. It's really, really gonna be fun.
mhm.
March and by the way, guys, we're gonna be doing a whole Creed week, and so we're gonna be doing, I'm gonna sit down and watch Creed, the 2015 movie. Actually, Coogler directed that. That's where it all really started, and then I'm gonna sit down and watch Creed 2 for the first time, and he's gonna sit down and watch it again, and then I'm gonna go see it March 1st. He'll probably go see it March 2nd. It releases March 3rd. We are going to be doing a spoiler cast for that um, on the 3rd. So stay tuned for that. And that's going to be another huge kickoff. But before we get into that, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and a bunch of stuff dropped yesterday. So, one of the stories that dropped, which I found was, it's always interesting. Well, I should say, guys, what did you think about it? Did you enjoy the trailer? Are you looking forward to the movie? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Okay. So, our first story of the day is you always hear about these directors that turn down these franchises every now and then. So, Steven Spielberg, I mean, the GOAT, as far as I'm concerned, um, basically came out and said that um, he turned down Harry Potter. And so I'm really, so the story goes that he actually turned down Harry Potter, and he said that it was going to be a big sacrifice. And he actually um, basically, he says this: the personal meaning about how the conflict between art and family will tear you in half is what happened to me later after I established myself as a filmmaker, as a working director. Kate Capshaw, of course, and I started raising a family. We started having children. The choice I had to make was taking a job that would move me into another country for 4 or 5 months, where I wouldn't get to see my family every day. That was a ripping kind of experience. There were several films I chose not to make, he continued. I turned down the first Harry Potter to basically spend the next year and a half with my family, my young kids growing up. So I sacrificed a great franchise, which today, looking back, I'm very happy to have done and to have been with my family. So, of course, Christopher Columbus ended up directing the first one and ended up making oodles and oodles of money. Um, how, what did you think about that? And I guess my question is, do you think Christopher Columbus was the right person to actually direct it?
I think Columbus was a perfect choice. I think that both Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets are perfect films, and honestly, it's funny when you hear about this because I honestly don't know how this movie could have been any better than it was. It checks out that Steven Spielberg would be someone that they would have talked to, especially given that when, Spielberg had started out in the industry, he started making movies like E.T. and he was making a lot more family friendly fare like Hook and all this, and then all of a sudden, he started to go into more adult content. And if you look at his early 2000s, whether it's Minority Report, whether it is um, AI, whether it is the incredible Munich, even War of the Worlds, he was going into a deeper, darker space. So it's interesting to me that they might have picked him at this time because this was, I think, this was less a kid friendly Spielberg. Like the movies he was making around the time Harry Potter was coming out are not the films that I think you would assume someone like that would make a Harry Potter movie. Now, I think what's also interesting is I was listening to a YouTube show and they were talking about how Robin Williams was originally going to play oh, he wanted to play the character of Hagrid, but J.K. Rowling did not want any non-British actors playing these roles. So they ended up casting Robbie Coltrane, the late great Robbie Coltrane, to play Hagrid. And it's funny because like if Steven Spielberg was directing this film, maybe Robin Williams would have played Hagrid. Maybe we would have had more American actors involved. And then the big thing though that's funny to me that wouldn't have been a difference is John Williams would have done the score for this movie regardless. And I think that's kind of fun. Um but I think it was a wise move because it allowed for, as Spielberg says, he had to he was able to spend time with his family, but then he was also able to go on to other projects. It makes you wonder if he did direct it, how long he would have stayed on for the series because Christopher Columbus only stayed on for 2 movies, and then we had Alfonso Cuarón come in for Prisoner of Azkaban, and then you start to see a change in directors with almost every movie until you get to Order of the Phoenix, and it's the same director, David Yates. But it's a really interesting what if, but I don't see really um what would have, because I mean of course he's a great director, but it's like I can't even imagine those movies being better than they are.
Yeah, no, I just I can't that kind of that kind of I don't think anybody knew what this was gonna do. And so, I mean, and the fact is, and by the way, people forget that, Spielberg, one of his greatest movies he did with Robin Williams was Hook.
Yes.
And so, I really, that Julia Roberts and, but I mean, the point is that I don't think that Spielberg being attached to this, if he had done this, I think there would have been more expectation for the second movie. Because as you were saying before, he was doing films like Minority Report and, all these other ones. And, look, this is what the business is. This was purely a business decision, and I'm really glad he chose what he chose. You know, um, I can't be more happy for him. Um, and the thing is, I don't think he has any regrets about it. And that's the biggest thing. He has zero regrets because if it comes down to a job or your family, you can always go get another job, especially when you're a Spielberg that is at the top of his game and has been in the top of his game for 40 years. Um, I just it's one of those things where, and I think the expectation for the second film would have been even larger because you are getting a big name director. So I think when you get a Christopher Columbus, it's like okay, you know, and I think it was done well. I think it was done well. And I mean, I can't believe it's been, you know, 22 years. That makes me feel really old. But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I liked it. It's one of and we, by the way, guys, if you want to go back and watch it, it's one of our top 5 we did our personal top 5 film franchises. I don't think either one of us put Harry Potter in there. I could be wrong, but like yeah, this is a huge, huge, huge franchise. And of course, many other movies have been made and many games. As a matter of fact, that new Hogwarts game is the new rage, for all the gamers to play on YouTube. But it's like, yeah, this movie was just magic. I think it was going to be magic regardless of who you got to direct because the story was so good. So, yeah, I'm happy he took the job. I'm happy he basically passed on the job, and I'm happy that he spent time with his family. What do you guys think? Do you think Spielberg made the right decision? Do you think he should have actually directed the first Harry Potter? Go put your thoughts down in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you guys have to say. Okay, so our next story is about a film that's going to be coming out in the next. Actually, it's going to be October of next year. And so anybody who has seen Joker, which is millions and millions of people, know that the sequel to Joker is one of the most anticipated films of is going to be one of the most anticipated films of 2024. October 4th is actually the release date for it. And so Lady Gaga just tweeted out her first picture on set, and this is in production as we speak right now, of the sequel to Joker, the Joker 2. And by the way, I should say one other thing. This is the first time Joaquin Phoenix is a remarkable actor. He's been nominated for an Academy Award. He's obviously won the Academy Award a couple years ago for Joker. I mean, he's been nominated for The Master. He has, another film coming out, I think, in a few months. Nonetheless, this is the first sequel he's done. So when you saw this first photograph by Lady Gaga from on set, give me your thoughts immediately of what you thought about it and maybe what kind of scene this is going to be for the film.
Ooh, I definitely love this first look because it's not actually, once again, it wasn't what I was expecting because I thought for sure it would be her in like costume, but it looks like unless she looks like this the entire film, but it looks like this is her pre Harley Quinn change. This is her when she's still like Dr. Harleen Quinzel, and she's probably just encountering Joker and falling in love with him and kind of seeing just the charm and even the toxicity that he alludes, but it's still something that when I see this picture, I know right away why they cast Lady Gaga, and it's that she really, I think, can match Joaquin Phoenix, both her acting and just where she can go, because she is a very brave actress. If you've seen her in A Star Is Born, if you've seen her in House of Gucci, she is someone that I think gives incredible performances. But even if you just see her in concert or if you see her on the red carpet, she's not afraid to express who she is. And that is definitely someone that playing Harley Quinn, it's a perfect fit. Now, I'm wondering when it comes to this movie how they will delve into their relationship because in the last number of years, DC and the films have kind of strayed away from Harley and Joker together. It used to be a mad love type love story, but then I think a lot of people started to question, how healthy is it to have these two characters continue to beat each other, continue to berate each other, is it healthy for people watching? And I don't know how I feel about this issue because personally, I grew up with Harley and Joker together. And personally, I think they belong together. It's just that they are both people that are, you know, serial killers. But then again, I do understand why some people are upset about them staying together, and this is why they ended up splitting them apart in Birds of Prey, even in the Harley Quinn animated series. They've actually now gone through the idea of having Harley um, involved with Poison Ivy instead of Joker, which is interesting because there's always been this Harley and Poison Ivy friendship in both the comics and in the movie, in the animated series and games, but now they are now like a couple, and her and Joker are kind of disattached. So I'm curious where they're gonna go. I mean, who knows? Maybe a Poison Ivy character is in this movie. We don't know, but the film itself, I think, is going to be really good. I thought the Joker from 2019 was great. It's a film, though, David, that I haven't watched much. I've only seen it twice, and I think it has to do with the fact that it is a hard watch. I'm wondering how much of a hard watch this will be. But I really dig the picture. I think she'll be great.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that, it's one of these things where I think that this is eh, eh, this is pre this is pre Harley Quinn. I think you were bringing up in a space the other night. This could even be in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Um, I think that the fact that there's so much going on in this picture too. Can we just say that? Um, she looks scared, but she looks like mesmerized. She looks, and Joaquin just looks amazing. Um, and he doesn't have his makeup on either. And I think that's such
He
a
does.
fascinating thing to say. So she actually got him to um maybe take the makeup off. We don't know.
Well, he
Um
does have the makeup on. It's just that it looks like it's a bit smeared off on the
oh,
mouth.
okay, okay. So yeah, no, yeah,
It
gee, okay, I
definitely
see that. Maybe it's a light. Maybe it's a
it
light, but yeah,
definitely looks like he may have been there for a while. Cause
yeah,
like if we're theorizing Arkham Asylum, it looks like maybe he's been there and of course he puts it on, but it and that's another question because the thing what makes the Joker film that was released in 2019 was originally made to be a standalone movie, no sequels. It was supposed to stand on its own, and it made $1 billion, which is I think a surprise to everyone involved, and it won the Oscars, and because of this, it made this movie get a sequel, and now we're dealing with the fact how much does it stray away from like what we know from the Batman canon, because I think the first Joker did a great job of respecting the Batman canon. In the comics there is the famous graphic novel The Killing Joke, where he is a stand-up comedian, and he's a stand-up comedian in the film. And then there is the Bruce Wayne sequences with Alfred and Thomas Wayne and the parents, but they are very minimal. Like they're really Easter eggs than really it being based on a specific Batman comic. But here, once you bring Harley into it, you're starting to delve a little bit deeper. Does this Arkham Asylum have other inmates that we know of? Is it just a regular place, and is he still why is he there? Because it looked like the end of the first film he did escape. So there are many questions to be had, and that's I think one of the most exciting things about the film, because we don't know what it truly will be about until we see the trailer.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what we do know is that there are going to be musical elements to it. What we do know is that, as you said, it made the original 2019 version made over $1 billion. Um, and it's a great question, right? Should there have been a sequel? A lot of people, and there's arguments on both sides of the coin. You made $1 billion. Do you really want to go and push the envelope again because they got all the accolades and nominations, or do you turn around and just leave well enough alone? I don't know. I mean, he had never done his. I will say one thing. This must have been one hell of a get for Todd Phillips to have him come back and get Joaquin Phoenix to come back. Because as I said at the start of the piece, he's never done a sequel ever. And there are plenty of sequels he could have done. So I'm really, really, really fascinated. I think once we see a trailer, we're going to know more and we can kind of deduce what we're going to do. You guys, you saw the picture. You saw, what they look like. What do you think about this? What did you think about this? Did you think that, you know, what emotions do you think both of them are going through at this point? What point in the movie do you think this is? Do me a favor, guys. Leave your thoughts down in the comments for us. We'll get back to you. Okay, so let's move on to another story. This one is, you know, I mean, it's really Ant Man is going to be coming out. Um, on Friday. And so we're going to go see this. I'm going to go see this on Thursday as he is. And basically, this is going to be the third installment of the Ant-Man franchise. And, Kevin Feige has basically called this the end of a trilogy and everything else. Um, so I know we were just talking about this off camera. So you sat down and watched Ant-Man, both Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. What did you think at going back to rewatch them? What did you think about those?
Well, I think I really do love Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man. It's a film that is really just charming about a father trying to connect with his daughter, which actually isn't something that you see that often in comic book films. So that's something that really brings a uniqueness to it. But it's also a story about another father trying to connect with his daughter. And then there's also the element of the first film of the shrinking, and that's something that is real. I think what makes comic book movies really good is whenever they add something that we haven't seen before. And when the first Ant-Man came out, we had never seen a character like that before. So I loved all that. Um, though I will say, I even though I love the first Ant-Man, I didn't love it as much as I used to. I used to have this movie in my top 5 MCU. It might be still in my top 10, but it's still good though. And it's funny because Ant-Man and the Wasp, when I rewatched it, it was one of my least favorites. And I actually was watching it today, and I had just a bowl of fun watching it. It was funny, and I think that the movie actually, if you look at the way it's structured quite differently from other MCU fare. It's not, first of all, it's not ending with this massive CGI battle between two opposing characters flinging things at each other or, fighting each other, really. It's really a story about people trying to get their family back or trying to get a piece of themselves back. And there's also the element in Ant-Man and the Wasp of the character of the Wasp. And even though in Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think I would have liked to see her have more action sequences, I am very excited to see maybe her get a couple more in Quantmania. But I think honestly, David, if we get to Quantmania and Quantmania is good, I think Ant-Man could be a pretty good trilogy, especially the way it would be structured from like number 1, 2, and 3. But that's just me. I know some people aren't that big in terms of like fans of the Ant-Man franchise. It's certainly not like Guardians or honestly, I think Ant-Man is like the least loved franchise of the entire MCU, but I still like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Ant-Man is this has been it's a good franchise. It's a
Mhm.
good franchise for what it is. And I think that, so right now, as it stands, um, it is tracking and it's actually not gonna it's gonna do pretty well. Right now it's tracking at about $120 million for opening weekend, and it's looking like it might hit $280 million globally, which is huge for Ant-Man. Um, they're hoping to make, between 95 to anywhere between 95 to 110 million over the next 3 days. Um, and I think we've talked about this before. Is that there's a couple things that are going for this, right? Number one, we have the main villain in this film in Kang, which I mean, Jonathan Majors is crushing it and is going to crush it here in 2023. Um, Number two, this is the end of the trilogy, right? This is the end of the circuit. Um, Number three, you're bringing everybody back. You're bringing Michael Douglas back. You're bringing Michelle Pfeiffer back. You're bringing, so they're trapped in this. And I was watching something when I think it was Kevin Feige who basically had said, this was Scott's idea. This was Paul Rudd's idea. And so, the first one, they had to figure it out. The second one, they went in and saved somebody from that. And then the third one, now they're trapped and they have to get out. everybody has to get out, and there's a new villain here. I I really like this. I think this is going to be a really cool. Excuse me. I think it's going to be a really cool ending to this thing.
And it's
Yeah.
really unexpected, which I really love because you would think, when you introduce a character like Kang, this over encompassing um, main villain, what it appears to be for the phase 5 and phase 6 of the MCU, you would think you would introduce him in this huge movie, like, say, maybe even a Guardians of the Galaxy, or you would introduce him in a Thor or a Captain America. But the fact that they introduce him in Ant-Man is really cool because it gives you what's it like when you have the character that's basically like the everyman. He was like us, what it was like to be a guy that just happens to be in this MCU and then he comes across these powers and he doesn't have superpowers, Ant-Man. He just has a suit. And to have that character face off against possibly the greatest villain the MCU has ever faced, I think that's a pretty interesting idea because it's something that you wouldn't expect to see from an Ant-Man movie, and it's also something that you wouldn't expect to see from the MCU as a whole. And I think that that's going to make this movie even more exciting because now you have this villain, and what's going to happen? How's it going to end? How's it going to lead into Kang Dynasty? I think we're going to get the answers with this film.
No, absolutely. And I think that the fact is that it's not only it's going to be a good film, and I'll tell you something. There's a lot of confidence in Marvel. Lot of confidence to put something a major villain. I mean, some are even saying he's big as big, or if not bigger than Thanos. And so when you put that kind of villain at the end of um this film, and the end credit scenes are going to set everything up, and
Hmm.
it's going to be a really really good time. So I can't wait to go see it. I know Kyle can't wait to go see it. um what do you guys think? Do you think that this is gonna be a good movie? Do you think that, this is gonna be a good start to phase 5, or do you think that Marvel is just gonna continue the ways they've been going? Do me a favor, leave your thoughts down in the comments, and we're gonna get back to you on that. Okay, so our last story of the day brings Kevin Feige, who is the mastermind of Marvel, into play. A and so he was at the premiere of an Ant-Man. And so he basically had said in a interview that Spider-Man 4 is basically done. All they have to do is put pen to paper. And so that's pretty big. That's pretty big. Um, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home made over $1 billion. So um, so that's good. He also confirmed that to EW, Entertainment Weekly, that Deadpool 3 will be the first rated R movie in the MCU. So he basically, screenwriters had previously said that Disney would not make a Deadpool friendly film, because of Fox, and well, not because of Fox, but that was what they acquired. And each one of the other Deadpool movies had made over $780 million worldwide.
Hmm.
So they just signed somebody on the other day. We know that Hugh Jackman's coming back. And so, and finally, the big movie that everybody's been looking forward to is Blade. So Blade hit a speed bump back in 2022 when the original director exited. And so he said it's going well, and they're going to start rolling in about 10 weeks with Blade. So, and that's not to mention you have, you know, Thaddeus Ross. I mean, Harrison Ford is now in the MCU. So let me ask you this: so much to talk about. What do you think about all this news that Kevin Feige dropped. Number one, are you excited for Spider-Man 4? Number two, do you think they could get Tom Holland back with Zendaya? And number three, which one of the projects, Deadpool 3, Harrison Ford being playing Ross, which one of those are you that much more excited for?
Um, well, number one, I'm excited for Spider-Man 4. I think I hope, because they keep on doing this with these Spider-Man films in the MCU, but I hope that this is actually Spider-Man because every time they make a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, they're like at the very end, "Ooh, look, he's Spider-Man now. He's gonna, really be swinging around the city. He's going to do a lot of the Spider-Man stuff we're used to seeing him do." But then the next movie, it's like, no, he's still learning. And then the next movie, it's like, oh no, he's still learning. And when we see him at the end of No Way Home, and he has the homemade suit, he is living in an apartment, he has the police dispatch. It looks like we're finally going to see him become like the full Ultimate Spider-Man that um, we're used to seeing, and that I'm really looking forward to. The big question is who the villain will be, because they could do it with, a Green Goblin, a Doctor Octopus, the same ones that they've had before, but with the new MCU versions, or they could go for even a more street-based villain, like a Tombstone or a Hammerhead. There are a number of opportunities for them to, I think, explore. You asked if Tom Holland will be back, and I mean, obviously he'll be. I mean, they've even said that I think they've signed a deal with him, or there's, but yeah, I think obviously he'll be back because they're calling it Spider-Man 4. It's not like they're making a new Spider-Man movie. But will Zendaya be back? That's a great question, because it's like, do you risk the weight of the last film by saying that, oh, maybe she now remembers who he is? Or do you let him explore new opportunities? Because, right, like the fun thing about Peter Parker is in the comics, he had a number of girlfriends, or he had a number of um, dates with other girls before Mary Jane. And Mary Jane was like his end all. Once he got to Mary Jane, he was set for life. In the movies, though, he's only basically had one little thing with Liz Allen, and then he went to MJ. I think it would be cool if you give Peter a new love interest in this new Spider-Man film, and then either you bring Zendaya in at the end of that film, being like, hey Peter, I just moved next door. Like, can you imagine that would be an amazing ending where Peter, he's set for life. He's got the greatest girlfriend, he could get. I don't know who he'll be dating, whether it be a Gwen Stacy or someone else, but he's dating this new girl. At the end of the movie, a new, it's say, oh, you have a new next door neighbor, and it's MJ, and then you're like, oh snap, man, I think that might be a great ending, but I don't know, because I think Zendaya will eventually return. I think we'll see MJ back. I think we'll see Ned back. I do wonder when this movie comes out. So let me ask you, David, when do you think Spider-Man 4 will be released?
Well, so if they have the story already done, and so Kevin Feige had basically said, "Look, we're just going to put pen to paper at this point." I gotta believe we're in February, so let's say the script takes 6 months, and I'm being generous, but let's say 6 months. Let's say 6 to 8 months. They're probably not going to start shooting this until 2024, which means if they're not going to start shooting this until 2024, you're probably looking at a 2025 release. So I would say, personally speaking, to your question, I would say it's probably going to be a 2025 release. Now, I don't know, maybe, and that's another great question. It's going to depend on Zendaya. Now, the way I look at it is this: they're a package deal. Okay, she's going to come back. I think it's going to be a matter of the scheduling that she has with Euphoria and
Yeah, that's
a lot of her other commitments. Um, but I do think she will be back. I think she will, be there. How they're going to do the story, I obviously nobody knows that. Um, but to answer your question, the short answer is I think it's 2025. I think it's
so
probably summer 2025, and yeah,
you're seeing it more so, I think, as part of Phase 6 of the MCU. We'll see Spider-Man
yeah,
4,
no, absolutely.
and I
They're not going
think
to rush this out. They're
that what
absolutely not going to rush this out.
will be interesting about that, David, is where would this fit in the overall MCU? Because most likely that would mean it would be coming out maybe in time before Kang Dynasty
Well,
or
I
after,
think what they'll do is
in
this.
between Kang and
Yeah.
Secret
So I think
Wars.
what they'll do is this. I think they're going to drop nuggets. I think they're going to do cutscenes. Okay,
With Spider-Man?
with Spider-Man. And so at that point, what they're going to do is they're going to, I mean, not every single one, obviously, but they're going to drop little nuggets. And then they're going to, you might see him do a cameo. And when he makes the
Um,
cameo, I think at that point, what they'll do is they will, he'll have like a 5 or 7 minutes, he'll have a couple of scenes in whatever film it is. And then I think that's going to build up to whatever it is.
I'm
But
wondering if, because of Sony being, a part of the producing angle, I do wonder how, because like when it comes to Spider-Man, they've never had a Spider-Man end credit scene or real, you know, well, anything attached to any movies that weren't produced by Sony. So Civil War was in conjunction with Sony. Now, then you have Spider-Man Homecoming in conjunction with Sony. So therefore, I feel like they'd have to, in order to do that, they'd have to, guess get Sony's approval. Um,
I'll say this much.
well, no,
What
yeah.
was if you remember, what was the big thing that everybody was talking about with that trailer with Civil War? The last 15 seconds. It was Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Now, obviously that's a trailer and that's different. But that was the buzz around the water cooler the next day. It was, "Oh my god, they actually got Spider-Man in it." I think that if they're able to do that and able to, kind of, I'm going to put it to you like this. Maybe they drop a cameo like the last 5 minutes of whatever movie they're going to do. And, whether it's Peter or, Tom or,
Yeah.
you know, he comes in and he does that because there is always, while it is Sony's character, at the end of the day, they want to try and make the biggest buzz and the biggest skip they can. And I think
Yeah.
that when you do that, when you're able to make something like that happen, that's what people talk about. So,
And it makes you wonder because, I mean, Sony, when it comes to like these Spider-Man films that Sony makes, they usually don't put them on the slate. Usually the slate is for just the films that Marvel produces.
right, right,
And that means that really can, and Deadpool is also the same. They haven't put Deadpool on the slate because that's also in partnership with 20th Century Studios. So I feel like right now Deadpool 3 and Spider-Man are the most interesting of the movies because those are films that literally can be, anywhere and can be done
exactly.
with, with, and like with the whole Deadpool being our news story. I mean, I think most of us already knew that it would be, but it's still reassuring to hear, and it's going to be so different because now I think, there will be Avengers cameoing in Deadpool, and it's going to be so good because think about all the things that Deadpool can now do with the MCU, but in an R-rated fashion.
Um,
And I think, as like some reports have mentioned it being a part of the TVA from Loki, there are a vast number of opportunities
the
for Deadpool.
opportunities, this is unlimited. That's why
Yes.
the multiverse, the whole thing with the multiverse, and
And
that's what this
Wolverine.
is. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. What did you think? Let me ask you this question. What did you think about the Blade news? Because I know everybody has been Blade has been one of those IPs and those properties that it's when are they going to get this off the ground? We haven't heard any news about Blade. We knew that who the star was going to be, but then silence for almost a long, long, long time. And then you had the director leave and everything else. Let me ask you, are you excited for Blade?
Yeah. What was the Blade news
So the
again?
director, he basically had come out. So they had basically said they're going to start filming Blade within the next 10 weeks.
Mm.
They are going to um they're going to start doing that, and it's going to be um it's there. So basically Blade is going to begin filming in like 10 weeks.
Blade is very interesting because I loved Blade films. I love all three Blade movies. Wesley Snipes was a great Blade. Blade's a great character. Um, I do wonder because I think it's almost just assumed at this point that Dane Whitman, the Black Knight from Eternals, played by Kit Harington, is going to have a role in this movie because at the end of Eternals, the end credit sequence, he sees what is called the Ebony Blade and he goes to touch it. And then you hear Mahershala Ali's voice saying, "Are you sure you want to do that, Dane?" Or he says something on that order. And that's like, ooh, Blade. And Blade was a project they announced back in 2019. It was a project they announced at Comic Con, and it was the big announcement because no one knew this was happening. A number of the other projects were rumored: Shang-Chi, Black Widow movie, Eternals. A number of them were like known already to be happening. But when they announced that Blade was coming and that Mahershala Ali would play him, the whole roof, um, basically went in applause and such a timely fashion. But when it comes to this character, I think they wanted this character in this movie to come out earlier. They wanted Eternals to reference him back in like 2020 when it was supposed to come out. I think they were hoping this movie to come out in 2022 at this point. But unfortunately, of course, as you mentioned, with the delays, and I think they kind of just they basically like because the thing about Marvel is they really, given how many movies they announce, it's unbelievable how they're able to release all of them because no other studio does this. No other studio announces, 6 or 7 movies coming out in the next 10 years and the dates they'll be out, the cast that will be in it, the story. No other studio does that. If you remember back before the whole James Gunn DC Universe announcement, we like David, we didn't even know what DC movie was coming out in 2025, let alone even 2024 there could have been a movie coming out. Where Marvel, we know what movies are coming out in 2026 or 2027, I believe. And that's pretty crazy when I think with Blade they tried and I guess it didn't work out, and instead of scrapping the project, they really want Blade in here. They are going to still go through with it, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see the vampire angle. I think it's a really cool idea to have that type of angle because we've seen the werewolf angle in Werewolf by Night. So what does what do vampires act like in the MCU? In Loki, there is a vampire in that show, but it's a quick second cameo. And then there's Morbius, and
We won't discuss that.
we don't talk about
We don't
Morbius.
talk
So
that's the one film we don't talk about.
yes, so I'm excited. I'm excited for Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be the really cool. I mean, finally they can get this stuff running. The other news too, I thought was really good. You got Thunderbolt Ross coming in, and you got
Oh
Harrison
yes,
Ford playing Thunderbolt Ross. I mean, this is a Harrison Ford.
but that's yeah.
No, I mean, just the simple fact of you got Harrison Ford that is just absolutely killing it right now. He's got that series on Apple TV. He's got Indiana Jones coming out. He's going to be playing Ross in the Thunderbolts. He's
But
huge.
David, it's not actually the news that he's playing Thunderbolt because that's great.
Well,
It's the news that Thunderbolt will be the president of the
well,
United States,
they're true.
and
Okay,
that to
good.
me that
That's a good distinguishing thing. Thank you.
yeah
But I
no
mean,
that yes, like he'll be great as Ross, but what
I
they
think
just did, if you remember in Wakanda Forever, they revealed that the president wanted to destabilize Wakanda.
yeah. So,
It looks like this is the president.
mhm.
Ross, the same one we knew from the Incredible Hulk, the one we know from Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, that man is now calling the shots on the government. I think there are a number of ramifications this will have. Think about what it could mean for characters like She-Hulk and characters, like Hulk himself, who he's always had something against. I think this is going to have massive ramifications. Remember also, um, when it comes to at least in the comics, I don't know if you know this, but in the comics, Thunderbolt Ross becomes a Hulk. He doesn't become a Green Hulk. He becomes what is known as the Red Hulk.
Oh, that's
So
right.
there is a chance that Harrison Ford himself will turn into a Hulk. And it sounds almost silly to believe.
No, but they've been able to pull a lot of things off.
No,
So,
but when you look at where the storylines have been going with these stories, when you look at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier, as it's called at the end, that show established that the super soldier serum is still, causing havoc. And I think that was whatever Sharon Carter was up to. And then we get into She-Hulk, and we start to see how they're, being treated, how like Bruce Banner's blood can turn you into the Hulk with Jennifer Walters. I mean, there's some interest. And then also in Captain America New World Order, the next Captain America film coming out, Samuel Stearns, who was in The Incredible Hulk, he was the scientist that Bruce Banner tried to get to help him make a cure for himself. That man then got hit, and some of Bruce's blood fell into him. He becomes the character known as the Leader. He's this green-looking character, kind of like the Hulk, but he has this giant head. He's in Captain America, and he's dealing with super soldier serum. Elijah from Isaiah Bradley from Falcon Winter Soldier is in Captain America the New World Order. So there's a lot of
there's
super
so much
soldier
stuff. There's
stuff
so many
going
moving
on.
parts that this is going to be huge. This,
Yes.
I mean, and I've always said this. This is why I think Kevin Feige is the best studio head in the business, because he's able to plan what you were saying earlier. He's able to plan all of this stuff out, and let's not forget he's got all this stuff coming on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to plan films. It's another thing to be doing shows in between this. And so it unbelievable. Unbelievable. Um yeah, I mean there's so that's the thing about Feige too. He drops so much stuff that when he does drop it, there is so much to digest and talk about and think about and speculate on and everything because you don't know, and
And he
so
makes it fun. Like
he
that's why it's
does.
so fun. Because
He
like David,
does.
I don't know about you, but like whenever I hear people talk about superhero fatigue and this and that, it's still to me it's an evolving plan. And
Mhm.
where I think with Quantumania, what I'm so excited about is that we're gonna start to see the pieces really starting to come together. And even as I was watching Ant-Man the other day, I mean, think about how like back in 2015 they mentioned the quantum realm, and it played a part in Endgame. Like that was where they were headed, and that's how they were able to save the world. But now it's even playing a much larger part in Quantumania, and I think that's just exciting. It makes you appreciate the films, and it makes you excited for what's to come.
Now I have one quick question. If this film is, let's say, good, not great. Let's say that this is a look, I know that there are a lot of films out there that or movies or whatever you want to call them. Do you think this could be as good as, let's say, a Captain America trilogy?
Well, no,
I mean,
I
that's a lofty goal. I know that,
no,
but
I mean the Ant-Man films, I mean, I would say like the first one is up there, but it depends because I think that let's say it is like a really great film. If let's say Quantumania is a really great film, then you'll have like two goes, maybe, but I mean the thing with if you look at the Captain America franchise, the three films they're really great,
yeah,
and
no,
it's
they
those
get
are
better
hard.
as they go.
It's by far like arguably the best of the trilogies. I would argue personally for me, I think my favorite trilogy is Thor. I think that the Winter Soldier is a better movie than any of the Thor
Oh,
films, but
yeah,
it's
hands
still
down.
like as a trilogy, I really do love the Thor trilogy. So, but I mean, everybody has their
No, yeah,
own.
absolutely, and that's why we
I'm
always
sure.
say,
I'm sure people will probably be out there that think the Ant Man trilogy is the best one.
yeah. I think it's because, I mean, you bring back not older, but you're having Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer and
Yeah.
everything else. I mean, and look, and by the way, guys, if you want to go back, well, we just did um, Captain America and the Winter Soldier as one of our perfect movies. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think that I'm really excited for this movie. I
Hmm.
really am. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think it's going to be great. I think he's gonna
Jonathan
have such a
Majors. Yep.
huge, huge, huge 2023. I can't wait to see how high his star rises because whether it's Magazine Dreams, whether it's Creed 3, whether it's Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, I mean, this guy's just gonna explode. Explode. Um, but yeah, so what do you guys think? I know there's a lot of news out there. What are you guys excited for? Are you excited for Spider-Man 4 to finally get a script done? Are you excited for Deadpool 3 to, finally start to get, that R rating that everybody wants? Are you excited for the possibility of Harrison Ford playing Ross and all those things? Leave your thoughts down in the comments and we'll definitely get back to you on all that stuff. Okay. So, yeah, so as it goes, this was we got a bunch of stuff coming out. Um, so whether it is, let's just do a quick run through real quick. We got Ant Man and the Wasp coming out on Friday. We're going to be going to see it Thursday. Spoiler cast right back here on Friday, guys. No roundup this week. So just to let you know. Um, then we have the Jonathan Majors. He seems to
Hmm.
be everywhere. Creed 3. The new trailer just dropped today. We were just talking about it. I have to sit down and watch Creed 2. Stay tuned for Creed Week, the beginning of March. We're gonna do um, watches of Creed, Creed 2, and then we're gonna go see Creed 3 and do a spoiler cast about it. Um, now I am kind of jumping around a little. There are films that are going to be coming out that between now and then in May. So you got Guardians of the Galaxy coming out May 5th, which a new trailer just dropped. And by the way, if you want to go back and watch our trailer breakdown of that, we do all of the trailers and we play a little game to see how much you think they could possibly make. Um, We got Across the Spider-Verse coming out in June, which, by the way, I didn't put in there, but I know he's really excited for Fast X, which is coming out the next week. So that was um, whimsical, comical, but cartoon characterish, if you will. So that comes out the week after Guardians. So then June 2nd, you have Across the Spider-Verse, one that he was really disappointed with. Transformers and the Rise of the Beast. He wasn't. It was a 30-second spot, and he really didn't like it that much. So we'll have to see how that does. And these all are gonna
I
make.
mean,
We're
as I said, I'm really excited for the movie, but the
yeah,
spot itself
yeah.
offered
He
very
wasn't.
little new footage.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, we're gonna be doing spoiler casts on all of these, so stay tuned for those. We get the Flash. This one just blew everything up for I mean, crushed Guardians, crushed everything. So we're gonna be going to see that. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I still don't like that title, but that's what they're going with. Uh, but nonetheless, this was a movie that cost $297 million to make. Harrison Ford from the footage looks amazing. I can't wait to go see it, and that's going to be a great adventure. Then we have what I think is going to be the biggest movie of the year.
Where's
And
that trailer at?
yeah, and I even said that. I even
Yeah,
said that the other day. Where is that trailer? Because that would have blown. I think to your point though. I think the one thing that um and Tyler brought this up the other day is I don't think they wanted to be competing against Guardians and Fast 10
it's
and the
also
Flash.
expensive too, and I think that
So
did you see the Little Mermaid spot came out today, and
yeah, I
clearly
happen to see
that
that.
was clearly a Super Bowl ad. That was
Yeah.
going to be a Super Bowl ad, but they ended up, moving it away because Disney didn't want to
No,
spend as
I
much.
don't blame him. I don't blame him
Yeah.
because he had so much other competition, and that's how stacked this lineup is, guys. And so the final one we're going to be looking at is the next week and is Oppenheimer. And this is, Nolan is going to be, Christopher Nolan's Christopher Nolan. I'm really curious to see where it goes, how Cillian Murphy does. It's got a stacked cast. So stay tuned for all those spoiler casts. Um, yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow and we're going to go see it. We'll be back here on Friday to do it. Yeah, it's so let me, as we close up today, do you have any major, like not big expectations, but do you have any expectations going into this with either the story or the villain?
I'm not really. I mean, like, I think the villain is going to be, really good. I'm really going into this, and it kind of stinks because, it's an Ant-Man movie. I shouldn't be going into it, but I really want to see how it connects to the greater story they're trying to tell. Because when it comes, I have a feeling I might rewatch Shang-Chi again tomorrow. Because if you remember at the end of Shang-Chi, they had the rings and they said they were calling out to something, some sort of beacon. I think that might be tied into Kang, but that's just me theorizing. I think that when it comes to the film itself, I just really hope that it has the same fun qualities of the other Ant-Mans, and I hope that one of the big things that I think a lot of people aren't really talking much about is Catherine Newton, who's going to be playing Cassie Lang. And I'm really hoping that she's good in this because I thought the little actress that played her, the little girl in the first two, she was incredible. And they actually recast this role of Cassie because another actress played her back in Endgame, and I'm hoping that Catherine Noonan's great, and also Bill Murray's in this film,
Yes, that
and
will be
they've kept
interesting to
him.
see.
I think maybe because of controversy and all
Yeah,
the stuff that's going on,
they've
they've
kind of
kept him really, really hush
low key.
hush. But I think he might play a part in here. So I'm looking forward to it. I really think it's funny that's coming out in February instead of like May, because it does look to me like a May movie. But we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we did.
I'm excited to do the spoiler cast on it because
Yeah.
I wonder, should we get? I think maybe you want to get other people on here, or do you want to just
Well,
do it like
we'll see.
weekend?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what their schedules entail and look like. Okay, guys. So that's as Kyle just made mention. Come back here on Friday because that's going to be when we're going to be doing our spoiler cast. I can't wait. He can't wait. And on that note, by the way, I should say one final thing as we are leaving today. Guys, please, if you're stopping by even for a few seconds and you want to know a little bit more, hit that like and subscribe button because we have a ton. This is just the beginning, and we're not even talking. Guys, I should say this too. Stay tuned for Sunday. We got a brand new live stream of the Last of Us episode
Oh yeah.
6 coming
I
out.
forgot.
So, I mean, it just keeps getting
Last of
better
Us
and better
coming
and
out on
better.
Friday really changed
Yeah,
everything
no,
up
I
for me.
know.
It's like, wait, when's it coming out?
Yeah. So, and I think they're gonna probably that's a conversation for another time. But I think that they're probably gonna move the one for the Oscars. Anyways, guys. So yeah, it's been a blast. Hit that like and subscribe button so you get all this good content as we move forward. And that's it. So he's Kyle. I'm David, and you have been watching Real Talks. Bye bye, guys.
Live long and prosper.